The chapter called The Bisexual King.
Oh my God, who is this about? About David?
Yeah, it's about David. Yeah, so I talked about this one on excuse me, on Myth Vision.
Oh
And
yeah.
there were quite a few people that were flooding his inbox saying that that was a complete misunderstanding. He did a quick video from his phone trying to explain that he was going to make sure that I hadn't misinterpreted anything, and then
Oh
had
my
to do a
God.
second one basically saying the same thing, that he had reached out to Dr. Joel Baden to see if Dr. Joel Baden had um, a different perspective. And when Dr. Joel Baden, who wrote a whole book on King David, came back,
I've read it.
he basically said, no, she's not really off. If you're talking about the literary character of King David, there's a lot of ambiguity there, but he thinks that it's intentional ambiguity to leave room for the bisexual tendencies. But there is so much over like 10 chapters, and it's not just one verse where it's talking about, David kissed him and grieved and said, oh, your love is more than the love of a woman. There's a lot more scriptures that break down this narrative. King David had a covenant, made a covenant with Jonathan, and then they both strip. There's another place where they embrace each other, hug, weep in each other's arms, and kiss. Um, they're going behind King Saul's back, meeting each other in secret. Like, you don't do this if that's just a friendship. And if King Saul was
It's just your
so
bro.
right, and if King Saul was so anti-David, why did he give him his daughter to marry, who he abandons and goes off on his own, grieving this loss of Jonathan, running from King Saul for 9 years, right? So all of this, you don't abandon and leave your wife if you're in love with her. No, he had already made a covenant with Jonathan. There was
Yeah.
already something there. I can imagine you're in love with this one guy. You don't go and sleep with his sister. To me it seems like King Saul's trying to get David's attention away from Jonathan, so he says, "No, no, no, here, have my daughter
Yeah.
instead." And the narrative seems to
Yeah.
support it
I mean,
in all the scriptures.
it's interesting to me. I guess I'm sort of thinking about this in real time because what we actually know about a king named David is so limited, right?
Right.
Like a historical king named David. But we have this literary character that is pretty robust
Mm-hmm.
and that we have tons of writings on.
Right.
And it's, I guess the like question that pops up in my mind, and I don't really expect anyone to have an answer for this, but is like, if the Israelites or the people writing these chapters were so virulently anti homosexuality, right? Which Christians would have you believe if you read the Old Testament, but then at the same time intentionally create a literary character with all of this ambiguity that very clearly looks like